Welcome to Scratch and Learn. Thank you for being here. My name is Dr. Rachel Walters, as you can probably tell. I'm an adjunct lecturer in the Department of Geological Sciences, and today I'm going to give you a transformative test-taking experience in true active learning style. Okay? But first, so listen very carefully to the talk. There will be a quiz at the end, and there are prizes, even though you may feel like a grown-up. Who doesn't want a toy dinosaur? Seriously. First, I need to ask you a couple of questions. When was the last time your students genuinely enjoyed taking a test? Do you think, is it possible for them actually to enjoy taking an exam? Is it possible for them to learn during an assessment? I'm so to say absolutely, if at is the key. So IFAT stands for Immediate Feedback Assessment Technique. It is essentially a multiple choice kind of test-taking tool. It is very, very low-tech, highly interactive. I love low-tech, I'm very old school. And essentially just a multiple choice scratch card. Looks a bit like a lottery ticket. So scratch card looks like this. So we have all our answer options for multiple choice. They're all covered in little scratch-off material. So let's say I choose answer D for question 1. I'm going to scratch the box. I got a star. There's my reward. I got the answer right. So I get immediate feedback to say that my thinking about that topic is accurate. So I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm going to go for question number 2. I think it's answer A. Oh, there's no star. I'm very sad about that. So now I have this immediate feedback that I am not thinking that I've missed a concept or I have misinterpreted a question. So I'm going to try again. And so what we're in now, we're in a process called scratch until correct. So I'm going to keep going until I find that star and get the right answer. I'm going to choose answer B. I got my star. I don't get my full credit because I didn't get it the first time, but I get a little bit of partial credit. So I get 2 points. I lost half my points because it took me one go to find it. You'll notice that the stars are moving around in the boxes. That is to prevent cheating from scratching off a tiny piece of the square. You can't tell whether there's a star there or not, so the students have to scratch off the whole box. There's our star. And then they keep going through the test, learning every single time, correcting their thinking. And then they leave the test knowing exactly what all the correct answers are to the test. They go home knowing what they can feel confident about and what they need to go and study. And it's particularly important during the semester when they go home from the midterm and they study what they got wrong because they know that's going to come up later. And they leave the exam knowing this. Okay, they learn this every single question. So one of the reasons that I'm giving this talk today is because in terms of the return on investment of faculty time to enhancement of learning is huge. There's a very small amount of time that you can transform an exam from an exercise in measuring achievement to a valuable learning experience. So apart from the fact that it is very easy to use, I think the sort of the power of IFAT for enhancing learning comes from the combination of immediate feedback, so knowing whether your answer is right or wrong, followed by scratch until correct. Because then we know that students retain the last answer that they gave, their last response. So using the immediate feedback assessment technique means that they leave and they retain, hopefully, if they're retaining anything at all, it's going to be the correct answer. And it's a lot of fun. Hopefully you'll find out at the end that it's a lot of fun. If you add IFAT to team assessments, you get an instant, energized, engaged, active learning and very, very noisy classroom. And I feel like that combination is a hugely powerful learning experience for students for reasons that I'm going to tell you. So when I teach, I use a system called team-based learning. And one of the aspects of that we use the IFAT card for is in team assessments and team tests. All the photographs in this presentation are of my students. So what they do in their teams, it works just like the individual card, only this time they have to discuss in their teams and then make a decision before they're allowed to scratch off. Hopefully they don't give it to the most impulsive person in the team. And so some of the benefits to that, the immediate feedback has two benefits to that. We have our initial benefit of figuring out whether the answer is right or wrong. But we get a secondary benefit for the team is that they get feedback on how good their decision making is. So that helps them build their team skills during each task that they do with the team, just because we're using the IFAT card as they go along. And they can actually improve their performance as they go through the team task. In addition to that, they get peer-to-peer feedback. So they are getting, if they're struggling with a concept that their team knows, they've got the IFAT telling them what the right answer is, that teammate can then explain one-on-one, which is way more than I can do as a faculty member. And this can be done in a 300-strong class, that they can get one-to-one feedback. Also, negotiation, decision-making, critical thinking. One of our key goals for learning is critically thinking about whether their teammates who have a different answer to them, how good their reasoning is, and then they get to defend their own answer. So there are so many benefits to using team assessments, and particularly using IFAT in teams really generates an excitement around test taking, believe it or not. This is what it looks like. True scientists would do a comparative study. This is our traditional individual test, okay, a bit like a Scantron. Not a lot of joy going on there. I guarantee this student is taking a test with her team just a couple of weeks ago. Lots of joy. So no joy. IFAT team test, lots and lots of joy. So instead of me telling you how great it is and how much the students love it, we made a video so that you can see what they have to say about it.
I feel like I'm learning a lot more through iPad. What you're learning and discussing it with your group in the second part of the test. Talking it out with teammates on specific questions, you're thinking through the question a lot more, and there's a lot less second guessing when you're able to discuss the material.
iPad to me is immediate feedback. So we'll take a test and we'll know right away what our answers were. Like for the midterm, I knew instantly which one I got wrong and which one I got right. So I could go back home and study what I got wrong. My adrenaline goes like skyrockets, and I'm like, oh my gosh, which one is it? And then the star moves each time, so you think you get it wrong, but then you're like, oh no, there's a star.
That helps me so much. I love it, especially when I'm not confident about a topic. I can revisit it with my team and discuss why it's like that. And during the quiz, when I take it individually, I'll write questions. And then meeting with the team, I can ask the questions and they can tell me what the answers are and why I may have chose the incorrect answer instead of the correct answer.
I kind of think of it as like a game. It's fun. And the good thing about it is because we don't lose all the points immediately. You get to try again, so it's very forgiving in that sense, and that can take off a lot of pressure.
So we know that experiencing things works a lot better than me lecturing at you. So today we have the interface IFAT scratch off. You will need a question sheet and a scratch card. The scoring system is 4210 for the number of scratches that it takes off. It does say on the card on this quiz sheet that you need 35 or more to get a prize. I'm very tired at the end of the semester, and I figured you guys probably were too. So the prize, 30 or more on the scratch cards, and you just bring it up to me at the end or later on today, and I will be very, very happy to give you a prize. They're all geology-themed prizes. So this was the immediate feedback assessment technique. There's more information on my flyer online about how to get hold of the cards, some tips for how to use them. There are many more uses than just exams. If you're interested in team-based learning, there is a TBL bootcamp at UF for May the 25th and 26th. And then I want to say all photography and videography was done by Kristen Moreno. So I'm very, very grateful to have these beautiful pictures of my students, my class looking very, very happy. So if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to answer them. Otherwise, I have question sheets, cards, pennies. Please don't take them away. I am an adjunct lecturer, after all. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Do you ever find that being able to get less points for more answers, does it ever encourage kind of that kid in the class just to scratch them out until he figures out the right one, or she?
I feel like there's not a lot of that. I feel like they get quite excited about getting the star.
Okay.
Obviously, there is an issue with that.
It's
and
always going to be there.
yeah, and they could get more points statistically by not knowing anything than you could with a normal multiple choice that has A, B, C, D. Just because you can normally get 25%, it goes up a little bit with that IFAT because they get multiple goes. But I also might argue that it's a more accurate reflection of learning when you can give partial credit. So, for example, say the question 2 when I had A and B, maybe I knew that C and D weren't right, but if I pick A, I get it wrong. In a normal Scantron, I don't get any of the points. But maybe I knew a bit, so my little 2 points rewards me for knowing something about the question. It also has a record of the decision making, and that gives a lot of information to you if you look at the cards. Any more questions?
Do you worry about your students turning to the Florida lottery to get that same buzz after they're done your class?
I just tell them to keep coming back to my classes. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay.